Let me cover this issue. First of all, let me start with Rupa Wong and her kids. And she says, kids won't remember the best day of screen time. And the kids are jumping off a rock into the water, and they have 2020. And the issue is screen time. That could mean anything. And that's the issue. What is screen time? Is screen time reading at 20 inches, which is minus 2 diopters in terms of accommodation? Or is screen time reading at 6 inches or minus 2 diopters? 6 inches minus 6 diopters. That's 4 diopters. And they don't distinguish between screen times. To me, and the primate data, if you already write at 20 inches minus 2 diopters, your refractive state would remain positive and you would not even enter myopia. And how do you prove that? That I did that and my refractive state remained positive. And they will say, well, you can't prove that because they would not have been nearsighted anyway. And I say, wrong, wrong, wrong. Prevention is not regarded as a success when it is a success. And that's why I personally have my own Snellen. I blame myself for a child's habit, my habit as a child, because I remember doing this, reading at 4 inches, that's minus 10 diopters. And I had my hands on the, I was reading about 4 inches. It doesn't take long till you start going down at about 1 diopter per year or a half diopter per year. And adding a minus lens on your completely normal eyes means the rate at which you go down speeds up, does not slow down. And in fact, once you're down to about 20/50, that's your last chance, in my opinion, as an engineer. And that's why as soon as I was at 20/60, I started wearing a plus. From reading at 20 inches. Minus 2 diopters canceled by plus 2 diopters. It's like living outdoors. I hope you understand that science. But even I tell you what I'm doing. I don't tell you what you should do. That's up to you. And in fact, most of the information went to my immediate relatives. And fortunately, they did most of their work at 20 inches, so they never entered myopia. But I wanted them to understand what a choice was if they got down to 20/50. Then it's a valid scientific choice. And reading a Pluto Plus at 20 inches is a valid scientific method. And I think that most people won't do anything until they actually see themselves at 20/50. But they must understand that's their last chance. I think the real change in refractive state is probably about 1/2 a diopter per year. And that's wearing a plus for a year. But who cares once you get up to passing the DMV? I think my standard, everybody's standard, should be passing the DMV. And if you don't wear glasses, the 2 eyes will stay with a 1/2 diopter per year. Again, that's the primate data. So this means you can use the same power plus lenses when reading. And a 1/2 diopter difference is not enough to make any difference. Both eyes work together from the accommodation signal. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm not getting across to anybody. I accept that. I mean, people want their eyes fixed in an office instantly. They don't want any talk about prevention from an optometrist. Zero. And so that was very fulfilling. I realized this, I accept it. Some people were using a plus and getting close to 20/20, and they quit wearing a plus. because it said it's tedious. Well, if it's tedious, you don't know what you're doing and you don't know why you're doing it, which is okay, but who is responsible? So that's when I talk about recovery. I talk about me personally measuring. I don't use an auto refractor. I use the classic standard way. I make all measurements. And you can believe me or don't believe me. I really don't care what you think. I care about my vision. And certainly I connect with the primate data. And if you see the videos I show of the eye change the average accommodation, the eye changes in both directions. That's absolute science. When you measure the refractive state directly, and you don't stop talking about bad cameras. Anybody who in talking about this has the camera pop into his mind, and that's how they understand the eye, gets it completely wrong. It's not what the science of fact shows from the primate data. So, and I don't blame any people, I'm just curious. If Lamb Sight put up a Snellen, and I see my Snellen sit here, and he's reading the 2050 line, that means he can read at 20 inches through a +2 Doppler lens. And that's where I go all out for my own prevention. And I consider success passing the DMV requirement, not 20/20. Although every time I check, I'm 20/20 and a positive refraction of about half a Doppler. Here's another objection. A positive refraction is absolutely critical for 20/20 vision. But optometrists call a positive refraction an error or a defect, which is completely false. It's still absolutely necessary to have 20/20 to measure positive refraction. And that means reading the 20/20 line through a +1/2 Doppler lens. I realize the intelligence and motivation of the person is critical for any scientific prevention. And you do not have that in an office with people walking in off the street. You can't expect the people to be very intelligent or motivated. And that's why I exempt optometry or medicine from doing anything to help me, because I know they can't, and they're not going to. I don't care whatever you do, they're not going to help you. They're going to look for an error, and you'll get a strong minus lens. And that's the worst solution possible. But in that context, I know I've got to do it myself. And as an engineer, typically, I want to make the measurements myself. And I think that's the only right solution that will ever exist, which is why I need to talk to an electrical engineer who does design control systems, because that's what all eyes are, have positive and negative refractive states. So I can't resolve anything for you. And from Steiner, he doesn't understand anything because he has the same camera idea for the eye. And it's bogus. I don't know what gets through to you. I know if you're wearing an 8 or 9 Doppler, you're lost. I don't make claims. I don't make claims really except what I do myself and the measurements I make. I think the limit is around 2050. If you're serious or you have a technical mind and you have a goal in life that is important to you. And most people just, they don't care. They just want a minus lens and move on. That's fine with me, but it's not okay with my vision, my eyes. So that's why I'm very fortunate to be able to use a plus lens of myself and continue to do it. And even with a fixed lens, I'm supposed to not have accommodation. But in fact, I can read the 20/20 line, and you see me, I don't need the plus lens, but I wear it to prevent myself from re-entering myopia. I consider myself blessed by Jacob Rafelson's thinking and his efforts, and the public's total ignorance of rejecting Rafelson's idea. There again, if you're always 20/20, everyone would say, well, you would not have been nearsighted. And the only way you know anything else out, if you did get them down to 20/40, use the plus and got back to 20/20. So again, I thank LampSight, very dedicated guy, wants a solution, and I do also. Appreciates Bates, I appreciate him also. But the final analysis, I must be an engineer enough to make all refractive measurements myself if I'm going to be quantitatively successful. But keep in mind, what do you mean by screen time? Is it 20 inches or is it 5 inches? Huge difference. You got to make that distinction. Add your own commentary. Thank you. And LampSight, I really thank him for doing what he's doing. Wish him the best. Thank you.